go.
Thank you. Did you have any questions on these?
No.
Okay, perfect. Let me stick this over here. Give me 1 second. And I do offer a referral incentive, so I just like to ask, have I by chance done any of your friends or family's brows, or how did you hear about me?
Well, my son's girlfriend.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Callie.
Okay, perfect. I will make sure to put in her file. And just for you moving forward as well, by the way, I do offer $10 in credit for anybody you send in because I appreciate it. Honestly, they just trust you more sitting down in your chair when they've already seen some of your work. And, you know, honestly, they ask you a million questions instead of me. No, I'm just kidding. but yeah, so it's always greatly appreciated. But anyways, I'm happy to hear that you already have seen some of my work in person and you probably know a little bit about
it
the
looked
process.
really good.
God, I'm so happy to hear. Okay, so first things first, I just want to kind of look at your brows. And I know when you book your appointment, it asks you to put in a picture of how you fill them in and with nothing on them. So I know that for you, you don't put anything on your brows, right?
No, they're just getting thinner, you know.
Yeah.
I'm getting older.
Yeah, and it seems like you have a really nice, full brow through here. I'm just noticing that we've kind of we're missing a little bit of your tails and just a little bit of that arch. And maybe a little bit in the centers, but nothing too major. But you actually have nice eyebrows, just probably a little bit of a natural enhancement. The only other thing I'm seeing is actually this arch and this brow is just, here, I'll come here and see if you can see it a little bit more in the mirror.
Okay.
But do you see how this brow just looks a little bit more arched than this brow? If you're focusing kind of on this area.
Okay. Yeah.
So I definitely like the lift that this brow has. I just want to try to kind of take this brow and just do the same thing. So if I just lift this just a tiny bit, it actually balances them a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I mainly want to focus on perfecting your arches, just making sure they're really balanced. And then if you turn your head like 3/4 view about here. So what people don't realize a lot of times with their brows is when you're looking straight on, you don't realize how much missing your tail completely changes the look of your face. Because if you have a nice tail here, it actually just sets up these angles. You want a nice shapely tail, and then it meets with your cheekbone, and it just actually makes your face look more angular and therefore slimmer. It's a makeup trick that people do with like contouring and everything. So I think you'll be blown away at the difference of having a tail here, what that's gonna do. Now, as far as shape-wise, there's kind of some golden rules that we follow as microblading artists. There's a few measurements we can go by, and I'll kind of show you those now before we actually brow map you. So generally, you draw a line down the center, and then and you can go by two measurements. Some makeup artists go by the nose, this point in the nose right here, and for some people that falls right in the center of the eye. Some people it falls a little bit sooner in. Some people with larger noses, it even falls further into the corner of the eye. So I like to either go by this measurement right here with the nose or the corner of the eye, depending on where your natural brow sits and depending what you're used to, how you've been filling them in. And I usually like to start out further apart than further in, because on touch-up we could always really easily add a few more hairs going further in. Yeah. That's an easy fix. However, making them be more separated, that's actually removal, and it gets complicated. Okay. So honestly, where your brows are naturally hitting, I feel like it's a really good spot on your face, and that's kind of hitting this nose measurement. So I think let's start there, and then if we decide we want to go a little further and on touch-up, we can do that.
And I haven't tweezed my eyebrows in a long time. Sometimes I'll tweeze under. Like, how do you think I need to tweeze under? Like,
so basically, the main thing with that is it depends on how thick you want your brow to be. I'm not going to overfill this area with my microblading. So as far as changing the actual thickness of your brow, I don't really want to make it thicker than it currently looks. But if you feel like this shape and this size of a brow feels too thick on you already, then yes, we should probably pluck away some of this and then give you a little bit more of a defined line so that you know where to follow. Sorry.
Right.
And so that you know where to follow for waxing and for plucking.
Right. So what do you think? Like, do you think that we want to keep that thick all the way, or do we want to take some, or with my face shape, what would you suggest?
I personally feel like the thickness between here and here is a really good thickness. I think the thickness between here and here is a really good thickness. I don't want to necessarily make that thicker.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel like we need to make it thinner.
Okay.
But again, if you were filling them in every day to make them thicker, then I wouldn't be opposed to that. Or if you were regularly plucking them and wearing them thinner, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I really do want to give you a brow that feels comfortable for you on your face, something that feels...
Yeah, the less tweezing, the better for me.
Well,
I think probably sometimes the reason I tweeze is because there's not much out here, and so I'm always tweezing you know what I mean? And so maybe once I have some out here, I won't even need to tweeze.
The main area I feel like that you'll feel like you need to tweeze is kind of under here. And I might remove just a tiny bit of those hairs today, just like right in here. I
open
think
up the eye.
Because, yes, open up the eye, but also your natural brow bone actually sits right in here. And so we are going to want to raise that just a tiny bit to be able to give us that lift there. And in talking about not wanting the brow to get too thick, that's where we do want to go ahead and if we're building the brow here, we might need to pluck a little bit here, otherwise your tail might feel too thick.
Okay.
So with your permission, what I'd like to do from here is basically move towards an outline. I'm going to use the natural shape of your brow here and kind of give you what I feel professionally would be the most natural and best shape for your tails. And as far as the length of your tails, this is a handy dandy measuring device here. If you actually go from the corner of your nose to the corner of your eye, that's where they should end. So you actually, if you turn your head, you have a few hairs that go there, not a lot, but so it's not, I don't think it's going to feel crazy dramatic. However, on this side,
yeah, it's really thin.
I
didn't realize how thin.
I know, yeah, and I think when we do the outline, you'll notice even more that this side is lacking more than this side. But so really, it's truly going to work with your natural shape and what you currently have. It's just going to perfect it and give uniformity in your brow and to your face.
Nice.
It's going to be really
new and improved
eyebrows. Okay, so from here, let me just put on a little. Sorry, I should have brought this over before. Sometimes when I'm talking about people's brows and I pin their hair back, it's funny because they just stare at themselves the whole time and go, I look so weird in this. I look so weird on this. And I'll be like, yes, but let's focus on your brows. So I tend to not put this on until somebody was like, is that a garter? No, it's not a garter. Doesn't look like a garter, but just kidding. But yeah, this is just really just to hold your hair out of your face for me during the microblading. Somebody asked if they could keep it for when they wash their brows. Yeah, sure. I don't care. They're single use, so I'm not going to do anything with it again. Okay. So now I've already actually got all of my tools and everything prepped and ready to go for the outline and for the microblading, other than your ink color. Because and on ink color, that's the last thing I want to discuss before we do our outline. I always want to stick within one level, black being 10, blonde being 1, so 10 levels in there. So one level's not much wiggle room of your natural brow color.
Okay.
Because if we don't match your natural brow color, it's going to be obvious what is microblading and what's your hair. So the only thing is there's not a ton of wiggle room there. But if you are like, hey, I like my natural brow color, great. If you would rather go a tiny bit darker, I can shy towards the darker side. Or if you'd rather go a tiny bit lighter, I can shy towards the lighter side. So do you have a preference that way?
Not really, except for I do highlight and stuff in my hair, so I don't think I would want to go any darker than my regular. So I would say the regular,
Perfect.
than my natural, or lighter, but not darker than my natural.
So I vote that then for this first session, let's go ahead and do one level lighter than your natural. You're not going to feel necessarily like it's lighter, just the tails aren't going to be necessarily as sharp or defined as the center, but since you're not used to having any tails, I think that'll actually be a good first step for us anyway. So sorry. I'm so sorry. Anyways. But so I think that's a good starting point for us, and then on touch up, if you want to go darker, in fact, it's like highlights just like that, like low lights, you can on touch up, then every other hair or sometimes every hair go darker, and it actually gives it a multi-dimensional look. It's never a bad thing to do two different colors. If we decide that we need to do a little bit darker to make it perfectly blend, or even just a few strokes of that darker. But
I'm used to it now with the highlighter, so then adding a few darker in will,
exactly.
I like it.
I think it'll be great. Okay, well, let's go ahead and have you just move over here, and we'll get started on your outline. Okay.
Gosh.
Does that look scary? Is that overwhelming?
Oh.
Just very natural, right?
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, I was worried like maybe the tails were gonna be like really long, you know?
Yeah, and I know they don't
really
feel
natural.
raw, but just remember it is open skin, so no touching your brow directly.
Oh.
But sorry.
That's right.
Okay, and look towards me for just a second. Love. No, it's really like impossible to tell what's real and not. It's amazing.
It's impressive.
I'm telling you though, getting that tail in there, it just, I think you'll notice more and more in different pictures of you, but it's really, it's lovely. It's super fun.
Thank you. I love it.
Very natural. Yay.
It's beautiful.
Okay. Yes, you are. Thank you so much.